my friend, now it is time to unveil our brackets. It's time. Right now, everybody's still undefeated, right? It's not time to crumple the brackets up yet. Who knows? Who knows? Folks, think about this. Nobody's ever had a perfect bracket before. This could be the one. Myself or Dave could be the one. You never know. You never know what you're tuned into. So without further ado, Dave, we're going to pull up your bracket first, give you the opportunity to explain your thought process, why you picked who, what have you. And folks in the comments listening, you can react to it as well, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, X. We'd love to hear from you. So without further ado, let's pull up Dave Shumate's bracket. Boom!
There it is. In all its glory, folks. Just dripping green for money.
Let's see. Let's get the best format. Okay, I think that's going to be the best one here. Dave, if you want to go ahead and, there we go, dive into this. The first thing that jumps out, you got Houston as your national champion. Let me start with this. What were some of the toughest picks for you and the why behind some of the teams, whether it be upsets, teams you had making a run, like most notable things for you for your bracket? I mean, I can look and ask you about certain picks, but would love to hear just like when you saw the bracket, saw the matchups, you started going into your predictions, were there any you felt like stumped you? You felt better about some teams than you thought? Like, just kind of walk me through that.
No, I mean, I'd say starting in the South, no major upsets. We got the 1 versus 2 heading into the Elite Eight. I mean, Ole Miss going to the Sweet 16, I think some people may be shocked. But I think Iowa State has some injuries. I think Ole Miss matches up. I like Chris Beard. I like Mark Adams, now his defensive assistant, who used to be the head coach at Texas Tech, on that staff now. I just like what Ole Miss's draw is. I like their draw, and I like their staff this late in March. But I think Auburn, Michigan State, we got in that. Ultimately, I think Auburn, this will be in Atlanta, essentially a home game for Auburn. I've gone back and forth with Michigan State because Michigan State could throw a lot of bigs at Janai Broome, but I'm going to go with Auburn. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt since they were probably the best team. Not probably, they were the best team from the beginning of the season to the end. Florida's obviously the best. Now, heading into the West, Florida, I like Florida getting to the Elite Eight there. I mean, my Sweet 16 teams, Florida, Maryland, Texas Tech, St. John's. Maryland, starting 5, love them, just not deep enough. I think Florida's depth's going to wear on them. Texas Tech, St. John's. Again, I like the Johnnies, but give me the edge to Texas Tech, a little bit more challenge. I think Florida, Texas Tech in the Elite Eight. I think Florida gets there with pretty kind of not ease. If the game I'd be concerned for them potentially would be Maryland. If they can get Maryland worn down, but Maryland's starting 5 if they can avoid foul trouble. And again, how is this tournament going to be officiated? They kind of let it, they're very tic-tacky the first 2 rounds. Second weekends, they kind of get better officials, higher graded officials. They let it play a little bit more physical. So that could benefit Maryland in that perspective. And then heading to the East, I got Bama. Sorry, this is my big one. I got Bama, Oregon in the Elite Eight. I got Oregon.
5-seed Oregon making a run.
Duke in the Sweet 16, folks. It's my big bracket buster right there. Just Duke's a young team. I like them, but at some point, the pressure has gotten to a lot of these teams that have been led by young guys. Again, not saying that this wouldn't shock me. I don't feel awesome about this, but I'm going to go with Oregon, and I think Oregon beats Alabama again. I have concerns about Alabama going to win 4 to 5 straight games at times. I think they can ultimately win the national title if they're really rolling. I just think Oregon gets it done. I mean, I really do. I think Oregon is a really good basketball team this late in the year. Every year, they kind of make some run. Dana Altman has done a phenomenal job over there. So I got the Oregon Ducks advancing in. I think it was 13 out of the last 16 years. There's always been like a 5-seed or higher. Again, I hate going with trends like that because every year is different. They all have their own life and history of their own. And I do think basketball this year in college is the elite teams. It's a little top heavy, but Oregon's got a high ceiling. I like them against a young Duke team. I like them getting out of the East. And I like Houston beating McNeese State. Will Wade and them getting a little hot there. And I like Texas. That's another big one. There's always an 11 seed, folks. It plays in the play-in game. It gets hot a little bit. They go in that little run. We saw it a couple years ago. UCLA getting to the Final Four that year as an 11 seed play-in game. They probably shouldn't even have won that. Came back and beat Michigan State. I think Tennessee gets to the round of Sweet 16, loses to Tennessee. I think we got Houston, Tennessee. Like I mentioned, we're going to have the National Guard on stand for that street fight. I mean, Navy SEALs are have to ref that game, to officiate that game. I mean, there's going to be, I hope we get that. I kind of hope we get that in Bama Duke. I'd be really excited for those 2 matchups in the Elite Eight. I don't even have that. But yeah, I got Houston, Tennessee. I got Houston advancing. I got Houston beating Oregon in the semifinal. I got Florida beating Florida beating Auburn, and I've gone back and forth, CP. Houston and Florida. I think Kelvin Sampson's due. He gets it done in San Antonio. It'll be damn near a home game for the Houston Cougars. 3-hour drive to the Riverwalk, the Alamo Dome. Kelvin Sampson and the boys hosted up. Still a very, I think, successful SEC season, though, because how many Sweet 16 teams do I have from the SEC? Actually, first time counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7.
6, 7. I mean, 7 out of the 16. I mean, we're almost at half the field. I mean, phenomenal tournament. 2 teams in the Final Four, 1 losing in the national championship game. Nothing to be ashamed about. I just like this grown man of a team that is Houston and Kelvin Sampson. I think he finally breaks through, and why not in the state? Why not in his home state 3 hours down the road? So give me the Cougs. I'm going back and forth, though, and people saying Florida's lazy pick. Yeah, maybe, but, I mean, they are playing the best basketball right now.
I can't believe Dave Shumate, the lead basketball analyst at SEC Unfiltered, in the best year in the history of this conference,
I got 2 teams in the Final
not
Four.
picking an Sec team to win.
And I almost picked Bama to go. I am
of
the Final Four.
Dave,
there.
if not this year, then when? Then when?
The hardest tournament to win in sports.
I mean, and for those who don't remember, which I'm sure you do, SEC hasn't won the national championship since 2012 when Kentucky did it. You talk about being due. Unreal. I'm surprised. I'm surprised, Dave. Hey, what do you say? What do your parents say? I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Hey, I'm being objective, calling a spade here.
Fair enough. Hey, listen, you can't call him biased. He didn't even have Bama getting to the Final Four. Can't call him biased.
Elite 8 to the Ducks.
Yeah. Oregon. Okay. All right. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think I also, Dave, correct me if you saw this as well. I think I read a stat. Every year since 1997, a double-digit seed has made it to at least the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I do. There's always a team that gets hot in that 11 seed play-in game, dude. Because you think about it, you're already getting that first game jitter out. You've already gotten it out, so you're rolling into that technically first round game against a team who's, man, we're in the tournament. You're like, man, we just took a flight here 24 hours ago. We're ready to rock and roll. So it's you got the jitters out a little bit, I think. That's not all why, but I feel like we see one of those teams get hot every year.
Dave, we're going to pull up my bracket in a second. I'm just curious on a quick side note. Do you think we're past the days of like the true, like when we get into the Elite 8, Final Four, are we past the days of, like the big time, like we love to talk Cinderella stories, but in almost every single sport, Dave, the best teams win, right? Or the best teams get to the finals, right? What was it that one year we had like San Diego State? We had it was a very San
Diego State, Miami, FAU, and UConn.
Yeah, very just like you're right. Do you think in college basketball are we more of like top heavy, like is it very top heavy in your mind, and we're going to see the blue bloods or the best teams in the Elite 8 Final Four national title, or do you still think with like NIL and portal, is it like is it as wide open as some people want to make it out to be going into the NCAA tournament?
I mean, maybe year to year, because you could have a veteran team that these guys improve, they develop as a team, maybe like VCU. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but they got a veteran team that did a really good job in their league. I mean, I think they're ultimately going to lose to BYU this week, but it wouldn't shock me if VCU win. They're just kind of a team that comes to mind. But again, if you have a big year, like the Eagle staff at North Dakota State or what, who put up 40 against Bama in non-conference play, and he's already in the portal. So if you're having a big year at the mid-major, you're going to come up. It's just going to – that's why I'm not picking Yale, because they lost a lot of those guys that were on that team last year. Their best player, Wolf, now plays for Michigan. You had him and Vlad Goldenman in the front court over there for Dusty May. And then, hell, Dusty May's not even at FAU anymore. He's at Michigan. I think this is a very top. I'd be shocked if the national champion was not out of one of the 5 of Auburn, Florida, Duke, Alabama, or Houston.
Dave picking 3 of the 4 1 seeds to make the Final Four.
No. Oh, you're saying in this one? Yeah.
To make the Final Four.
Hell, Jay Billis, I think, had all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of chalk picks. So
let's see you, CP.
All right, here we go. my bracket, then the first thing I'm sure that jumps out to those watching, that's that logo right there in the middle.
That's the university.
The University of Alabama winning it all. I think, Dave, Alabama coming into the season, they were the favorite for a reason. We talked about their ceiling. I think this Bama team is going to be more focused than at any point we've seen throughout the season. Like it kind of felt like at times Bama was sort of playing with their food a little bit, sort of bored with the regular season. I don't know. I mean, they got to get Grant Nelson back, to your point. Like they can't win this thing undermanned, but I don't know. I think we're going to see a better version of Bama than what we saw at times throughout the season. Yeah, funny enough, Dave, I just mentioned to you that a double-digit seed has made at least the Sweet 16 every year since 97. And I have none of them, so I already feel terrible about this bracket. Just looking at it, I do. I feel awful about my bracket already.
I mean, dude, I don't like the trend stuff. Go with what you think.
You see, I've only got one seed. I have Michigan State taking out Auburn in the Elite Eight. That's a big one for me. I've got, obviously, Florida getting to the national championship game, actually. Bama taking out Duke in the East to get to, and that one playing out pretty chalk. Funny enough, Dave, you got Oregon in the Final Four. I got Liberty beating Oregon in the first game. So one of our brackets, my bracket won't be nearly as busted because I've only got them winning one game in this.
I see a couple people have them losing to Liberty.
Yeah, I've got Bama Vandy coming out of the first round, that SEC on SEC matchup. Dave, Clemson is and I know they're a 5 seed, but they're sort of my bracket buster. I've got Clemson going all the way to the Final Four. Got Tennessee losing in the Sweet 16 in the Midwest. They will not be happy with Rick Barnes if that's the case, but it's, Dave, I kind of feel like that's what they do under Rick Barnes.
Who do you have Clemson losing to, or Tennessee losing to?
I've got Tennessee losing to Illinois, 6 seed Illinois.
It's possible. Yeah. Illinois is getting healthy.
Yeah, got them losing to Illinois.
Granted, Tennessee beat them in Champaign already this year, but still, I was on a buzzer beater by Gainey. I think Jordan Gainey.
Yeah, and then I've got Clemson beating Illinois. So my Final Four, once again, I got 2 seed Michigan State taking on 1 seed Florida. Florida beating them. 2 seed Alabama taking on 5 seed Clemson. This is actually, Dave, would be a rematch, I believe, of last year's Elite Eight game.
This will be the third time they played in about a season in two seasons.
Yeah. So it would be a rematch of last year. Bama gets one. I got an all SEC, Dave, national championship. Dude, we're destined for it, man. This was the best conference in the country. It wasn't even close.
Bama, Florida. I don't think Bama can beat Florida, man. I think it's just a bad matchup for them.
Any given day, Dave. Any given day, the Tide roll on this day.
I say that. I mean, I have my national champion Houston, a team Bama beat in Vegas in the Players Era Festival. So, I mean, and Bama has Houston's number. So, it should be fun.
I'm going with Roll Tide, man. And, oh, by the way, the one pick that Dave told y'all not to take, I did pick Yale to beat Texas A&M. So
I wouldn't hate your bracket, CP. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, the tough thing with the bracket, Dave, and I'm sure everybody feels this, you got to mix in some upsets, but you can go overboard with it. There's no doubt. You can go very overboard with the upsets. Audio, Dave.
So
I know you're trying to make
everybody's all on San Diego beating Michigan, then beating A&M to get to the Sweet 16 to face Auburn in Atlanta in a Sweet 16 matchup. So I'm like, man, people are kind of on that. It's funny, the public sexy pick, but you're right. I'd say the team out of everybody's bracket you do not see anyone picking. Oklahoma against UConn. I haven't seen anybody.
That one, and then Georgia Gonzaga. Nobody's picking the Dogs.
A lot of people aren't picking the Dogs either, or the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah. They're picking the Gonzaga Bulldogs, not the Georgia Bulldogs. So, again, I'm going with the Alabama Crimson Tide, Michigan State, Florida, Bama, Clemson, my Final Four, all SEC Final, Florida, Bama. Bama finally beats the Gators. And it was Bama all along, Dave. Best roster in college basketball. It was always
Bama.
It was always Bama. Best roster in college basketball. Mark Sears goes out on a high note. So, there you have it. I mean, listen, Dave, I don't recall, Dave, the last time I filled out a bracket and was like, yeah, dude, this is a winner. I mean, This is there's no chance I lose a game.
I mean, depending on how your challenge is set up, it's all key to getting your Final Four teams, your Sweet 16, Elite 8 teams, and you get more points for that. It's weighted heavier.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hey, tell people, hey, go join our bracket challenge.
Yes,
Winner, it's free, folks. Winner gets a care package from us. 2025
SEC Unfiltered Bracket Challenge is the name on ESPN. We have published the link all across social media. I will republish or repost that, if you will. So it'll be top of our feeds. Go join. Winner will get a SEC Unfiltered care package merchandise. So hat, T-shirt, hoodie, whatever you like. We'll make sure we take care of you. And, listen, the merch is great, but wouldn't you like bragging rights over Shumate? I mean, don't you want to tell him I know more basketball than you do? Call Dave a non-ball knower. You have the opportunity to call Dave a non-ball knower.
And get a nice SEC Unfiltered sweatshirt.
Yeah. While wearing that. Who knows? We might hire you as our new basketball analyst. I'm kidding. But
hey, at least come partner with me.
Yeah. Well, we Dave needs somebody to yell at. So, Dave, good stuff, man.